Hey everyone, thanks so much for joining us today. My name is Sarah Mincher and I'm the social media specialist at Digital Sherpa. We're really excited to have Krista Nair with us today. She's the CEO of Bootcamp Digital, and Krista will be sharing some great information on how to use visuals in your social media marketing. So without further ado, I'm going to hand this over to Krista.
Excellent. Hello, and thank you so much for having me in this webinar. I'm really excited to talk today about visual social media marketing because it's something that I feel very passionately about, and I know that it can step change the results you're getting, not just in social media, but with your online strategy overall. So just to share a little bit about my background, I've been involved in social media marketing almost since its beginning, back in 2007. And since then, I've written 4 books on social media, 2 of which focus on visual social marketing. I wrote Visual Social Media Marketing about a year ago, focusing on how businesses can really harness the power of visual, and the Dummies people actually wanted to do a book on the same topic. And so to me, the reason I wanted to share this at the beginning is because I think this shows that this is kind of like a broad trend that we're seeing in terms of social media versus some kind of a quick thing that's going to go away. So when I look at the world of social media, visuals are something that I think are definitely here to stay, and that's why I'm excited to talk to you about this stuff today. The other important thing you should know about me is I'm Canadian, so I might say stuff weird. But for the most part, I've lived in America for 9 years now, so I should mostly be over my Canadianisms. So feel free to tweet at me during this presentation. I'm at Krista Nair. And let me just pump through this slide. I thought I deleted it. And we'll dive into the content. Okay, so we've all heard the expression, a picture is worth 1,000 words. But what does that mean? Is it true? And how does that link back to the social media and this trend we're starting to see with visuals? Well, the reality is a picture is probably worth far more than 1,000 words. According to studies, our brains actually process images 60,000 times faster than text. 60,000 times faster than text. So why is this important to you? Well, here's the thing. As we look at social media and really the web in general, there's so many things fighting for our attention, and people are really starved for time. So as we look at social media, for example, an average person on Facebook, this is just average, an average person on Facebook is connected to 130 people plus 80 additional groups, pages, and events. So that means an average person is connected to 200 things. If each of these things updates 5 times a day, let's say, that's an average of 1,000 updates a day that an average person could be exposed to. That's a lot. Who has time for that? And so one of the trends we've seen in social media is curation, where sites like Facebook use algorithms to try to decide what you want to see. But the other thing that I think is important is to think about how can we more efficiently communicate to people, specifically by using visuals. And a big part of why I think visuals are doing so well in social networks, on websites, and as a part of an online marketing strategy is because they're helping people to get through content quicker. So people can actually interpret, understand, and take action much quicker when they're seeing an image versus when they're seeing text. And so as you kind of think maybe a little bit about your strategy for communications in general, images should be a part of your strategy, and not just random images, but an image that helps to communicate stuff quicker. I learned this with my business by getting more active on Pinterest. So back when I started thinking about visuals, I was looking at our website, and we have a training page with a library of all the training classes we offer. And so the way our page was set up is it would say like LinkedIn training, and then it would give you a maybe 2-sentence description on it, and then there was maybe a button that said get started or something, sign up, whatever. Well, that was great, but look, it would take a lot of time to read through all the classes we offered. When we got on Pinterest, we made a board about our online training classes, and as soon as I saw the board, I was like, this is what our website should look like. So on our Pinterest board, you could see a picture of LinkedIn, and you knew that training was about LinkedIn even before you thought about it, right? In an instant, your brain is processing that image. And so really, as you think about images, it's not just about creating images or taking pictures or whatever else. We'll talk about those things. But you want to be thinking strategically. How is my image communicating something quicker, better, faster, more efficiently than if I just used text? So I got really heavily involved in thinking about this a while ago. And one of the trends that I wanted to talk about before we dive into the content is what I call the 3 R's of social media marketing. And the 3 R's are real pictures of real things taken by real people. So if I think about, 5 to 10 years ago, if somebody came up to me and said, you need better pictures, they meant go pay a photographer a bunch of money and get really good pictures. Now, when somebody says you need better pictures, generally what they mean is that you need pictures that look more realistic. And here's the thing. So if you've ever seen a billboard or something of a Big Mac, right? It looks like this giant fluffy sandwich with like actual vegetables and stuff on it. And then you go to McDonald's and you order a Big Mac. And what does it look like, right? It's like, squished down. The meat's maybe kind of gray. You can't really see any discernible vegetables on it. So people feel like advertisers, or people know that advertisers and marketers are positioning their products in the best way possible. And what the 3 R's, real photos of real things taken by real people, help to demonstrate is that this is really what your experience will be like. And we know from surveys done about what people trust that people trust 2 things: people they know and people they don't know. They don't trust ads. And so what these kinds of Instagram-y photos do is they give you the opportunity to really show someone what their experience with your business might be like. And this is true whether it's B2B or B2C. So real photos of real things taken by real people. And this has also been shown to increase conversion rates, actually. So studies actually show that on a number of different websites, by adding these 3R photos, conversion rates, or the number of people buying from businesses, has actually gone up. Here's an example, right? This is from the Pampers Facebook page. And one of the things that we know about consumers on social networks in particular is they have tons of money they can spend on marketing. They clearly can hire professional photographers. Yet, the kind of stuff we see are real pictures. And if you look at the picture of that baby, I don't know if we have any photographers on this call, but a photographer could kind of probably point out a million reasons why it's a bad photo, right? There's a hand in it, the shadows aren't very good. I think the picture just looks kind of weird, maybe. If that was a professional type picture, though, it maybe wouldn't look quite as good, or it would look better, but it wouldn't be as engaging. And so what we see on social media is that big brands are even using these types of images because they get better results. People are more likely to engage with them. And even if you look and compare the 2 images on this screenshot, where we have the stock type photo at the bottom and the real picture at the top, the real picture tends to be more engaging and draw people in. We see Starbucks using this strategy as well. So if we look on Starbucks page, again, this probably isn't the way they would choose to position themselves, right? So as we look at the picture on the left with the Frappuccino or whatever it is, it's not really blended properly and blah, blah, blah. The shadows are terrible if you're a photographer. But even brands like Starbucks that have no shortage of amazing photography that makes all their stuff look beautiful are using these kinds of pictures because they want to demonstrate what your experience might actually be like, that looks like the kind of drink you'll actually get, and because these types of images generally get better results. So I just wanted to set the stage by talking a little bit about this trend before we dive into sort of the guts of visual social marketing. So there's 3 things that we'll cover. You need to think about the images on your website first. Then we're going to think about how we can incorporate powerful images in our regular social networks. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about 2 of the biggest image social networks, Pinterest and Instagram. And I'll cover infographics a little bit really quick. So when I got started thinking about the concept of visual marketing, I was actually checking out Pinterest. I was looking at on the left, this picture of me. And I was like, why is Joanne pinning a picture of me? This is kind of creepy and weird. Well, Joanne was actually pinning our free report on Google Plus for Business. The problem was, if you went to the page that she pinned, the actual free report was on the page. So you could go to the page and see the whole report. But what we didn't have was a picture of the report. So when Joanne wanted to share our report, which, yay, success in social media, somebody is sharing your content. When Joanne wanted to go and share our report, she had to choose from a sidebar image that's completely irrelevant. Now, if that was me, if I was going to pin, let's say, a Google Plus report and I had only irrelevant images to choose from, I probably wouldn't bother to pin it at all. So if your website doesn't have great images, you're limiting the ability of people to share your content. The other thing is that even if people still share it, it's less likely to generate clicks. So people are less likely to click on a picture of me that's talking about a Google Plus report because they're not contextually related than they are if we have contextually related images. And a lot of the brands that I interviewed when I was writing my book had said the same thing. The more directly related the images to the underlying content, the more successful it is in driving clicks and traffic. So what we want to aim for as we think about the image strategy for our website is every page on our site, especially any page that we would like someone to share, should have what's known as a pinnable image. A pinnable image is an image that by itself tells the story of your content. So even if you're not reading any words, you get what's going to be there based on the image alone. And so you can see the image on the right, Google Plus for Business, that picture, that's the pinnable image that we created for that particular page. And, you know, by making a book, a report, close enough, it says Google Plus, the Google Plus logo is there, right? So the idea here is that you want to start by evaluating your website and making sure that any content on your site that you would like people to share has an image and has a highly relevant image. So the image by itself tells the story. And so this was really how I first started to think about the importance of visuals, not just for social media, but for my site and how that's going to play a role. Now, some of you may be saying, look, I don't care about Pinterest. Our business isn't really Pinteresty, and so on all social networks. So Facebook has actually been increasing the size of images that are displayed associated with links over time. So if you were to go on Facebook back in time a year or two ago, when you shared a link to a website, you would see this tiny little thumbnail sized image, and then the content would be beside it. Now if you go onto Facebook, you'll notice that the image from a link takes up almost the whole screen. So if you want to generate traction for your content on Facebook, you need to be thinking about the images on your site, right? So when I'm saying, hey, we have this awesome Google Plus report, Facebook is pulling that image from my website. If my website has crappy images, then it's not going to work out well. Now, some of you might be thinking, well, as a page administrator, I can change that image. This is true. If you manage a Facebook page, so if I were posting this link for my Facebook page, Facebook will actually let me change this image to one that's not on my website. So if there's nothing good on my website, I could upload a picture instead. But here's the thing, success in social media is people other than you talking about your stuff. So it's really important that you do this website audit, because sites like Facebook are going to pull those images on your website, and having big, beautiful images, we know, is what drives clicks on Facebook. Images are the most popular social content across almost every social network. And having these standalone images that tell your story is what's going to drive you shares and clicks in your newsfeed on sites like Facebook, LinkedIn, etc. Speaking of LinkedIn, let's take a look at what it looks like on LinkedIn. Again, we've noticed that the image size on LinkedIn is slowly increasing. So when I share a link, and this isn't an image I upload, these are images attached to links, right? Every time I share an article or a blog post or a product that I want to recommend on LinkedIn, anytime there's a link, the image from that page is being content. Here's two examples. I compared Starbucks to a local coffee place called Coffee Emporium. So I love Coffee Emporium, one of my favorite coffee shops. But when it comes to visual marketing, there's some room there. So as we look at Starbucks, okay, what I love about Starbucks is their visual strategy starts with their website. Individual products has a page, every single individual product. Why is that important? Well, because people want to talk about Starbucks products, right? I don't want to just say, oh, I like going to Starbucks. I'm going to say, oh, I love the pumpkin spice latte. I'm so glad it's back again. And if I want to talk about the pumpkin spice latte on Facebook or Pinterest or anywhere else, I can actually find a page and a picture about the pumpkin spice latte. And you can see, some of you might be thinking, well, who's going to go through the effort to go through Starbucks website and find the pumpkin spice latte page just to share it? Apparently a lot of people. If we look on Pinterest, and you can see in this screenshot just a handful of them, but if we look on Pinterest or Facebook or other sites, you actually will find tons of people are sharing individual products with individual images. By having great images, Starbucks's content, I don't know if that's how you pluralize Starbucks, it's probably just Starbucks, but Starbucks content is now more shareable. And you can see, again, even if you think, well, I don't care about Facebook or Pinterest, the same is true on Facebook, right? So even on Facebook, if I want to say, wow, I love the Christmas blend, I can find that exact page, which increases the branding, increases the impact, and ultimately makes it easier for me to tell their story, which is, you know, to me, that's like ultimate success in social media. So if we look at Coffee Emporium, on the other hand, they don't have a lot of pictures on their website. They don't have pictures of any of their products. I actually love Coffee Emporium. I love their coffee. When I went to share their page on Facebook, I actually couldn't even choose their logo as the image associated with it. That is not what success looks like. So here's what I would recommend that you do. Go to Facebook. Now, Facebook can be kind of buggy in pulling the images from your website. So one of the things that I've noticed is from time to time, I'll take the same page and try and share it on Facebook, and Facebook may pull different images. Facebook has something called a debugging tool. If you just do a Google search for Facebook debugger, you can actually enter a web page and it'll show you what images Facebook can pick up. So that'll help you to see if there's maybe issues with how your images are coded on your website. Or as a starting point, literally just go to Facebook and put in the web page that you want to share. Put in the web page that you want to share and see what images, you can see that down here. You can see what images Facebook is associating with that content. So start by auditing your website. You need images if you want your content to travel. Now, some of you may be saying, well, look, I don't have a sexy product like coffee. I don't know if coffee's sexy. I drink a lot of it, though. But some of you might say, I'm B2B. I don't think this makes sense for me. Or I'm an accountant. Or, you know, I don't have a product that I can take pictures of. It doesn't matter. There's tons and tons and tons of ways you can create visual content. I do this all the time. So just to share a personal story, when I got started on Instagram, a while in, I evaluated my Instagram content, and I had been using it for maybe a month, and I had only taken pictures of alcohol. And I don't really drink all that much, I don't think, but you know, especially when I would order a dirty martini, which is my favorite drink, I would always take a picture of it because martinis are really pretty. And anyways, I went back after I was on Instagram for maybe a month, and the only things I had to take pictures of was alcohol. So I thought, man, I need to balance out my content a little more. So I started just trying to find opportunities to take images of more social media content. So I wanted to take pictures that were more in line with the brand I was trying to build for myself. And what I found is there's tons of opportunities. When I would hear a speaker talk about social media, I would take pictures of the slides. I've actually seen people from our training programs will take pictures of their computer screen to post on Instagram. And what I found over time, and you can look at my Instagram account, it's public, it's instagram.com/KristenAir, or the Bootcamp Digital one, instagram.com/bootcampdigital. But what you'll find is that regardless of your type of business, there's all sorts of visual content you can share. And that goes beyond just pictures. So HubSpot, which is a company that creates, that makes online marketing software, they do some really cool things by using visuals. So you can see here examples of what they do. They make cartoons, they take pictures of things, they use stock photos and put text on top. I love the picture at the bottom that just has this stat, an average company saw blah, blah, blah. You can actually make that yourself. So here's a bonus power tip for you. On PowerPoint, you can create a PowerPoint slide of the image you want to create and choose export as JPEG. And then that PowerPoint slide becomes a picture that you could post on Facebook or use in your blog post. And so these kinds of things with stats, or the ones, the inspiring quote type ones where you have an image with text on top of that, make that in PowerPoint and export it. And then you have a picture without having to mess around with, Photoshop or other stuff like that. Other examples, one of the things I love on this page is the testimonials being visualized. That's much more engaging and believable to see a testimonial that's visualized than if you were just reading some text on a page with a person's name beside it. So you want to think about visualizing all sorts of different content, because it dramatically increases the engagement rates that you'll see on social media and the shareability of your content. So if we think about Pinterest quickly, I'm a huge fan of Pinterest. Some people think Pinterest is a site that's only relevant for, designers or weddings or arts and crafts or cooking. Those definitely are the categories that are most represented on Pinterest, but I actually think Pinterest is a tremendously powerful tool, and I use it all the time from a business perspective. So first, start by seeing the stuff that's already pinned from your site. So you can go to pinterest.com/source/anydomainname.com and see what people are already pinning from a site. I like to do this just to start with, what are people pinning from my site? What are people pinning from competitors' sites? And I can start to see if there's any problems with my website as well. So for example, this picture right here is in the sidebar. When I see my face showing up, to me, that usually means that someone was trying to pin something and we didn't have a good image, so they ended up choosing this one instead. So this also helps me identify if I have content people want to pin, but not pinnable images to support it. But anyways, start by looking at what people are already sharing just to get a sense of it. Then you want to think a little bit about your Pinterest strategy. So to explain Pinterest in just a couple sentences, because we don't have a ton of time to go into all the detail on all of these things, but Pinterest basically allows you to create boards that are based on different themes and then pin or share other content on the internet that fits that theme. So for example, business resources is a Pinterest board created by Office Depot, and then this is what they've pinned into the board. Now, I mentioned earlier the importance of pinnable content. One of the biggest problems with Office Depot's Pinterest site is they're pinning stuff that doesn't have pinnable images, right? Like, what is this about? If I click on this picture here of these people, first of all, it's a stock photo, not interesting or engaging. Second, if I click on it, what am I getting? What is that? And it's some article somewhere on the internet that they're sharing. I think it's like a social media tips. What am I going to get if I click on this picture of light bulbs? So you want to make sure that you're pinning stuff that's actually relevant for Pinterest. Otherwise, you probably won't get very good results. The Home Depot does a great job of this, right? You can see all of their different Pinterest boards are based around relevant themes. Now, I'll share with you a little bit about how we use Pinterest and some of the things I've discovered by using Pinterest as a business. And this is using it as a not super visual business, right? We do social media training. So we don't really have all this great visual content here. But there's a few things we do. First, we've made a lot of infographics. Obviously, I talk about social media marketing. I talk about visuals. We eat our own dog food. We do tons of infographics. And people would always ask, where can I find all your infographics? And I used to say, go to our website and search infographics. Well, that will actually show them every time the word infographic is used on our website. Terrible experience, terrible answer. Now I say, go to our infographic page, or go to our Pinterest account and go to our infographics board. And in a second, people can see all the infographics we've made and click on the ones they're interested in. Same with our social media training. I mentioned this before. Now we have pinnable images for every training class. So before, if you wanted to, you would have to read all the words, LinkedIn training. Now you see that LinkedIn logo, and in a second, before your brain even realizes it, you already know what that's about. We've been using these in some other interesting ways. So we do a 2-day social media certification boot camp in different locations across the US. And one of the ways that my team started using Pinterest that I thought was really awesome is you can create these location-based Pinterest boards. And if you want to see this, just go to pinterest.com/bootcampdigital. But we have one for our Austin 2-day boot camp, and it'll actually allow you to pin stuff and put it on a map. So when people register, we'll say, go to our Pinterest page, And you can find the location of the hotel, the location of the training, all the restaurants that we recommend. And it's a great resource for us to provide our clients with. And to me, one of the best ways to use Pinterest is as a resource like that, to connect people with the stuff that they might be interested in and group things for them so they can find stuff in one place. So I'm a huge, huge, huge fan of Pinterest for all types of businesses. I think you might just need to be a little creative in how you think about it. But I think anything that you give people as a resource, people ask me, for example, what books should I read about social media? I made a Pinterest board, social media books I recommend. And now I just say, oh, go to my Pinterest page instead of, making them find something on my blog or website or whatever else. So I think it's a really cool tool. Instagram is another visual social network that's growing quite dramatically. It's growing faster than Facebook did. Instagram's owned by Facebook. Instagram is basically a mobile application. So on your phone, you can take and share pictures relatively easily. Why people like Instagram so much is because you can edit the photos by adding filters that kind of make them look cool, like you can see in this slide. So here's what I think about Instagram. So when I got started, I kind of felt like, look, I like using pictures on my Facebook account and Twitter. So if I'm going to take a picture, I might as well take it with Instagram so I can edit it, and maybe I'll get some bonus views on Instagram. I would say over the last year or so, I've really started to see the power of Instagram, even for categories that I don't think are super, visual or Instagram-y. So a quick example I'll share with you is, when I was trying to take pictures of non-alcohol, I started taking pictures of slides during presentations. And I was at a presentation, I took a picture of a guy's slide. It was about entrepreneurship. And I posted the picture. It got 1 like and 1 comment. And the comment was one of my friends saying there was a typo in the guy's slide. Awesome. So anyways, I took a second picture of the next slide just because I was trying to, branch out from alcohol photos. And in the next slide, I used 2 hashtags, hashtag entrepreneur and hashtag success. That picture got 23 likes. So just by tagging my photo, I was able to dramatically increase the exposure that I got from Instagram. And so I'm a big fan of Instagram. I think you need to get in the habit of taking pictures of things, finding Instagrammable moments, so to speak, and start sharing things. You can also encourage people who interact with your business to take and share photos. So you can see here, this is Brooklyn Bowl. It's a bowling alley and concert venue in Brooklyn. All they did was print up these posters and put them up around their venue. If you look, there are now over 25,000 photos that have been tagged with Brooklyn Bowl. That's 25,000 people sharing their story. If each of those photos is seen by 100 people, I'm not good enough at math to tell you what that number is, but that's 25,000 times 100 people that are being exposed to this brand. So also look for opportunities to encourage your customers to use hashtags, take pictures, and share your story, because that's an additional way that you can do well. So the last thing I want to share with you is infographics. I've read stuff, if you read a lot of social media stuff, people are saying infographics have jumped the shark. To me, that's like really stupid. Infographics are popular not just because they're this little fad in social media or whatever else, but the reason infographics work well is because, again, it's this broader concept of people are overwhelmed. If you can show them stuff in a faster, more interesting way, they're more likely to engage with you. We've been doing infographics for 2 years now. We get amazing results. The best result, I think, of our infographics is that other people share them and talk about them. So this is just a screenshot of stuff people are sharing from bootcampdigital.com on Pinterest. So this is stuff on our website that people are sharing on Pinterest. And you'll notice it's primarily our infographics. And I just noticed, I don't know if you can read it on your screen, but I just noticed, this is kind of funny, the first posting, the person's comment was, too bad this infographic is seriously ugly because the data and story are interesting. That's kind of funny. I never heard that before. But anyways, so what I like about our infographics is apparently even when they're seriously ugly, according to this person, people still share them. And that sends traffic back to our website. It gets people interested and engaged with our brand. It's a really great source for us to engage with consumers. And, preferably I'd prefer that they're not ugly. But infographics tend to be heavily shared. They drive a lot of social mentions and they get links back to our site. So this is an example of another website that shared one of our infographics on Pinterest. So other bloggers on websites will share this, which helps with our search engine optimization. So just something to consider as you think about it. They can be okay on social networks. The problem is, so this is sharing an infographic on Facebook. Most infographics are too big for the Facebook image slot. So generally speaking, what most people will do is maybe take parts of their infographic and use those as images. And this is the one that somebody said was really ugly. I don't think it's that ugly. I don't know what you guys think. But anyways, so this is one of our infographics, and you can see it's really good content. It gets good results across the web. If you're thinking about creating infographics, I'll just share with you a quick sort of a few quick thoughts about it. First, come up with the theme or the story of your infographic. So I'm based out of Cincinnati, Ohio, and one of the things we wanted to do for our first infographic was just to see if we could get traction. So we made an infographic called Cincinnati is Social. And the premise of this infographic is that Cincinnati is a very socially connected city. Now, is that true or not true? I don't know. But look, there's enough data points for us to tell the story. So, you know, whatever story you want to tell, you can probably find data to support it. I doubt that Cincinnati is the #1 most social city in America, but there's a lot of data and people have said it, so we can play off of that. So start with your premise and your idea. Think about the story that you want to tell and visualize it last. So generally the last thing we do is actually infographicize. We start with the story, then we add the data points, and then we'll turn it into a picture. And so this was kind of our Cincinnati is Social infographic. One quick power tip I'll give you is all of our infographics, and the reason people tend to be interested in them, we make them in-house without any designers and without using Photoshop. And we're not really designers. Apparently we make ugly ones, but I use a tool called PictoChart. It's PIKTOCHART, PictoChart, for my infographics. And you know, the downside is they do have templates, so you need to do some customization or it might look similar to other ones. But what I really love about PictoChart is I can make an infographic start to finish in about 4 hours. And so for me, I'm always ROI minded when I think of social media. How do I get the best return on my investment? And for me, 4 hours is a very reasonable investment for a very decent infographic. Would we get better results if we hired an infographic design firm? Sure, but it would also take a lot more time and effort. And we get very good results with the infographics that we're able to create ourselves in-house. So it's kind of the last kind of power tip I wanted to share with you. So next steps, what do you need to go ahead and do? First, think about your image strategy. It all starts on your website. So make sure your website is awesome and has pinnable images on any pages you want people to share. Then think about your image strategy for existing social media and consider using some of the image-based social networks. So with that, I think we have some time for questions, and I'll pass it back over to the moderators to let me know if there's any questions that have come through or if we're ready to wrap up.
Yeah, thanks so much for that, Krista. That was great. I do have a couple questions. First off, someone asked, are there any apps you recommend to edit or add text to images?
Yeah, there's 3 that I would suggest, or I guess
Okay.
4. If I want to add text to a picture, literally what I do most of the time is I open PowerPoint, I input the image onto a PowerPoint slide, I drop a text box on top of it, and then I just export that as a JPEG. PowerPoint is easy. You can actually also do this on Microsoft Word. So the other thing I'll do, I often, when I'm on airplanes and stuff, I'll write my blog posts in Microsoft Word. And then what I'll do is I'll put a picture into Word, and then I'll put a text box on top of it, and then I take a little screenshot of the image with the text box on top. If you're using an iPad or a mobile device, there's a really cool app called Fonto. It's Phonto, Fonto, that allows you to take a picture from your iPhone and put text on top of it, and they have some really neat fonts. And then there's another cool tool called Haiku Deck. It's Haiku, I think it's however you spell haiku and deck. And What that allows you to do is it allows you to, they actually, what I like about Haiku Deck is they have an image library. So on Fonto, you have to take the picture yourself or have a picture on your phone. Haiku Deck has an image library of images that they're licensed to use. So you can pull in images, and they have some cool fonts, and you can export, excuse me, you can export those as well.
Great. I'll have to definitely check those out. Okay, we have another question. Should you check copyrights before you share an image online that isn't yours?
It depends on how you define sharing, right? So linking to an image is perfectly okay. So if you think about Pinterest, I could, on a Pinterest board, I might be pinning, if I have a board called, interior design ideas, I might be pinning stuff from marthastewart.com or other websites. I'm just linking to those pictures. If there's a picture on Instagram that I like, if I just repost, if I am linking to that image on Facebook, legally the image is still sitting in the place that it was created. So technically I'm fine. You do need permissions if you're going to download and upload a photo. So if I wanted to, let's say you had taken a picture of me doing something and I wanted to reuse that for my business on my Facebook page, I can link to that picture. So I could just take the link where that picture sits and say, wow, I love this picture of me speaking. Thanks for sharing it, and link to it. And when I link, the link will display the image. That is acceptable. If I download the picture and upload it onto my Facebook page, then it gets into copyright violation. Now, I'm not a lawyer. I don't play one on TV. So if you work for a large brand that has legal risk, talk to your lawyers. If you're an agency, err on the side of caution. But generally speaking, linking is fine. It's when you download and upload that you're generally in violation of a copyright.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, we have another question. How many Pinterest boards do you think I should have?
A good minimum is 10.
Okay.
5 is definitely the minimum. So when you go to a Pinterest account, so just go to pinterest.com slash, go to my Pinterest account. What you'll notice is you want the section that someone sees right when they get there, you want that to be populated, right? So if I go to your Pinterest account and there's one board, then it's all this white space that looks empty and stupid. So what you want to do is make sure that it's populated enough so that when someone goes there, they're seeing a full screen immediately. And so 5 would be the minimum, generally speaking, and it differs a little based on screen resolution, but generally 5 boards will fill out the width of the Pinterest screen. 10 will give you a second row, which I think looks a little better. So I would aim for 10. And if you feel like stressed out about that because you have to populate all of those, you can really easily populate your boards by repinning other people's content. So if I made 10 boards and I didn't have time to like add a bunch of stuff, one of my boards might be about, I like coffee. So I might have a board called coffee. And what I could do to populate the board real quickly is do a search on Pinterest for coffee humor, and then I'd find like coffee jokes, and I could just repin those and populate my board really fast.
Okay, thanks, Krista. That's a great answer. And the last question I have for today is which network do you think is better for B2B brands, Instagram or Pinterest?
It depends. Even if you're B2B, it does depend on your audience and where they are, and what you're selling and how visual what you're selling is. So there's not one answer, but here's what I would say the difference is. There's a huge demographic difference between Pinterest and Instagram. So I would start there. Instagram, 90% of Instagrammers are 35 and under. So if you're selling to younger professionals, Instagram is a great tool. Pinterest, on the other hand, skews more female. So it used to be 97% female or something. Now it's more like 60. But Pinterest is generally more female. It's 60%. It tends to be an older audience than what you find on Instagram. I personally, if I were choosing for me, where do I spend more resources? For my business, we spend a lot more of our resources on Pinterest because it drives people back to our website. It helps with our search engine optimization. And there's only so many things we can take pictures of on Instagram. So it's something where we can spend a little more time on Pinterest and get results versus Instagram, you're a little limited to stuff you can take or share pictures of.
Okay, great. Thank you. Well, thanks so much today for presenting, Krista. I definitely learned a lot, and I just want to say thank you to everyone who attended. You can see all of Krista's social is right there on the webinar, so you can connect with her at any time. And a copy of these slides will be mailed to the attendees after the webinar is finished today. So thank you so much, Krista.
Thanks, and thanks for having me.